Welcome to Two Roads Brewery. I'm joined by our head coach of the women's lacrosse team, Coach Fallon. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. A great event, great turnout, a great way to kick off our 2018 seasons. Coach, just talk about this event a little bit, how it came to be, and the great turnout we have tonight.
Yeah, sure. So this is an event that we do yearly. For us as the lacrosse team, we've done this for a number of years now. Typically, we've held it on campus, just following one of our opening scrimmages, where we just get our friends and family together just to kind of kick things off and get the season rolling. So I talked with Coach Stark, and we decided that it would be good to kind of do it as a joint venture and get it off campus. Bring the level of the food and stuff up a little bit. So it's really important. Both of us are, preparing to take our teams away for spring break. Jen's also got another trip that they've planned as well. So it certainly helps, defray the cost and that kind of thing.
Great. And the venue is fantastic. You can't ask for much
Absolutely,
more with Two Roads Brewery here. Great help with the venue and great turnout overall. Talk a little bit about, we'll start out by talking a little bit about last season.
Sure.
You have some key losses that you have to take into account this year. You're losing your top four scorers in Kendall Seatek, Caitlin O'Brien, and Nicole Bellinger, but you have a nice core group coming back. How do you take this core group and turn them into the key players that you need to be?
I think, that's the million-dollar question. But, I think we obviously lost a ton. Scoring, if you look at the statistics, the players you just named, were big contributors for us. And, it's hard to replace that. But I think, what we try to do is just get our younger players, as they're developing, to understand that roles change every year. We talk to them all the time about opportunities and that kind of stuff. And, it's their chance to step in and take the place. Those guys weren't always the leading scorers. They kind of build themselves into it. So, we're working every day to just kind of push them to evolve into, the players that we graduated. And we do have a good core of kids, and we're really young, so we have a lot of growth that we're expecting to happen, and we've already seen a ton of it from the fall until our scrimmage today. So we're excited about it. We'll see how it goes.
And you have a tradition to live up to for these players in terms of the success that you've had over the past few years. 5 straight years in the NCAA tournament. Last year, winning the first ever game in the NCAA tournament. A fantastic game on the road down at Duffy. So you have that in their back pocket, in their memory, something to build off of. But at the same time, coming into this season, you're working with another ranked team, 8th in the preseason polls. So a lot to live up to as well.
Yeah, and I think, we talk about all the time how, that pressure is sort of a privilege, and, we've earned the right to feel that pressure. And I think, we're excited about that. And, hopefully the kids that have been there can, keep pushing to get us back there. And I think, you just got to keep grinding every day. And I think, as things change, our goals never change in terms of what we do every day. We go out, prepare to win every game, and hope that's what happens. And hopefully, if you do enough with the right schedule, that you're given an opportunity at the NCAA level. So, we'll see how it goes, and we're just looking forward to next weekend, and then in our opener, one day at a time, I guess.
Absolutely. And you had the chance today to see the team in action against someone other than themselves. What are some of the takeaways that you had from this afternoon?
So, yeah, today we scrimmaged Central Connecticut. We weren't sure, really what to expect. I think we expected to come out and to compete and to play hard, and for everybody to get some minutes and to get some experience. And even some of our younger players that we're expecting to play a ton maybe haven't had a ton of experience up to this point. So we're, I think what we were able to see today was a lot of stuff that we need to kind of fine tune, and we'll get there. I think the rule changes certainly played a role in how the flow of the game went. But I think there was a lot of really good things, and a lot of it was some of our younger players that we haven't had a chance to really see, under that sort of pressure and under that microscope. And, for them to respond today, in their first real collegiate sort of competition, outside of the fall, I think was, it was really encouraging. And I think the players felt that as well. So that's a good thing.
And you kind of alluded there to some of the rule changes that you have in place this year. There's a couple of big ones that everyone will see pretty steadily. The first being the shot clock. It's the first year that it's instituted 90-second shot clock, a possession clock, really. Let's not call it a shot clock. But you've seen that in action a couple times in the fall, and again today. How has that played into the game plan going forward?
Surprisingly, I think the possession clock wasn't as big of a factor as, we were thinking that it might be. I think it helps us play fast, and, I think it certainly increases the demands that are on, each sort of set, be it the offensive or the defensive set, and, it sort of puts a lot of pressure on the midfielders to be fit, to be able to get up and down. So, but I think it's a good thing for the sport. Division I played with it last year, and we were able to watch a ton of film and to see how, coaches at the top level were handling it, what they were doing. So we've been able to kind of do our own homework and, make sure that we're prepared in terms of what to expect. So Division II and Division III will have it this year. But even today, it didn't seem, there were no shot clock violations by either team. And I don't even think it got close very many times. So it's just helping with the pace of play, I think.
Yeah, I think the closest I saw it was maybe 15 seconds away. But it's what a lot of people see is that it resets on a shot if the goalkeeper it has to play at the ball. If they don't, then the clock will continue.
Yeah.
It'll stop with the main clock.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily that you have a limited just 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of how you play through that 90 seconds.
Yep. And it'll reset on a pipe as well. So the goalie or a pipe. But like I said, it didn't seem to come into an effect, which is what the purpose of it was, is to just keep the pace and to end the stalling at the end of the half, at the end of the game. So,
and I think the one rule change that'll catch a lot of people by surprise, and that people will really have to get used to, is going to be the freedom of motion after the whistle.
Yep.
In normal play, you're used to the whistle blows, everyone stops, reset to play on from there. How does that play into the game plan now?
I think the biggest thing is just the student athletes being able to adjust to it and to get used to it. I mean, this is, lacrosse has always been different than any other sport in the sense of when you hear the whistle, you've got to stand. So getting them, these kids have been playing, 10, 12, however many years, to get them to now be deconditioned to the whistle has been a little bit of a challenge. And it's tough in practice too, because we don't blow the whistle a lot in practice. So that's certainly been a challenge. I think it makes lacrosse like every other sport, in that you can now, get yourself in a better defensive position, a better offensive position. But I think just deconditioning them is what's going to be the challenge.
And I think exactly decommission, and getting them used to it. I heard a lot of times today where the whistle would blow and you could hear the sideline yelling, "Keep moving, keep moving." And I think that'll happen probably through a good portion of the season. Yeah,
and I don't think that's unique to us. I mean, that's Division I, II, and III, and I think what you were probably hearing on the sideline was my assistant Ashley, because she's just screaming all the time. But I think that's, and whether the kids can hear us or not is another thing, but at least, if other players on the field, they can remind each other, and I think it'll just take a few weeks. But hopefully it's, it kind of, it allows you to be able to transition back and to get yourself into a better defensive position. I think, playing defense is really tough, so, this is kind of, takes away a little of that offensive advantage.
Now, overall, all of these rule changes good for the game, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for us at Division II and Division III, we're seeing a lot all at one time, so it's hard to it's a lot for us, it's a lot for the officials, so I think that pressure, as coaches even, we're talking about the student athletes, but for us as coaches to be able to prepare our team and to, kind of have the foresight to figure out what people are going to do, or what's the best, strategy when there's nothing to look at. I mean, it's pretty, but it's been exciting, and I do think that, the speed of the game is what they're, looking for, is, to keep it moving, and that's what, all of this is, structured around, is just trying to make sure that the game's moving at a good pace, so that when at the highest level they're putting the D1 championships on ESPN or ESPN3, that people are wanting to watch it, and I think that's what the goal of it is.
Okay. We'll give you a couple-minute break from the hot seat here. We'll bring in a few of the players,
right,
and then we'll get you back here to talk about the season coming up.
All right.
We'll start out with Mackenzie Reh, All right, so now we're joined by Mackenzie Reh, junior midfielder. First of all, talk about some of the losses we talked about with Coach a couple minutes ago. You have a lot of losses, key losses, your top 3 scorers.
Definitely.
So you come into this season as one of the leading returners. How do you take that pressure and build on it moving forward?
I mean, it's definitely a lot of pressure to come off of a great season that we had last year with people like Kendall Seatack, Caitlin O'Brien, just so many good players that you feel that you have to fill the shoes for. But I think we're a completely different team this year, and we bring a lot of different aspects that we've never had before. We have a bunch of new freshmen that just are doing so well and are so fun to work with. So I feel like although we have a lot of big shoes to fill, we are able to do that with the amount of numbers we have and the amount of girls we're bringing in. But it's definitely a challenge.
Now, you have an opportunity to play on both sides of the ball as a midfielder.
Yes.
Is there one or the other that you prefer?
I prefer to play offense, definitely. But I understand that defense is definitely something that is serious. But I always am like, I'd rather be on the other side of the ball. But offense is something that I love, and I definitely prefer that side.
Do you have to have defense in order to get to the offense?
Yes, defense wins championships, definitely.
Absolutely. It's a great comment. You've had an opportunity in the past to be a key part of that offense. Last year, you were 5th in the team in scoring, 22 goals. So that'll be another key piece moving forward. How do you see yourself fitting in this season?
Yeah, definitely. I have a totally different role this year. Last year, I had girls who definitely were better than me and just were older than me and had more experience than me. And this year I find myself in a new role that I have to step up, and I might have to score more than 22 goals, or I might have to step up and do something that I haven't been doing before. So it's definitely going to be a challenge for me, but I hope that I could take it on and excel.
All right, now looking forward to this season coming up. What's early on? You have a challenge with Bridgeport, and then you go down to Florida for a couple games. What do you look to build on those first few games? What are you looking to accomplish?
In those first few games, I'm hoping to establish everything that we might struggle with throughout the season, like things that we don't maybe work on as much or things that we are a little iffy about. Like those first few games are times that we can really hone in on those maybe problems, solve them, and continue off on that. So those first few games are really going to be a test to what we're good at, what we need to work on more, and what we strive at.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Hold on before you go. You get to pick which one of our seniors you're going to put on the hot seat next.
Jessica, definitely.
All right. Thanks, Mackenzie. All right. We're back now with one of our 2 seniors, Jess Mazliah, a familiar face. You spend a lot of time on the field. You are very ingrained in the offense, I would say. What is your key role on the offensive end with this program?
Especially this year, I think my key role is to just make sure that we're all on the same page and we're staying calm, especially in tough situations. But more specifically, I consider myself a feeder, but I do have to step up and score. But overall, my main role is definitely just being the calmness of the attack.
Being the calmness. Now, you also have a general role of basically telling the offense what you're doing.
Yes.
In that position behind the net, you have a chance to see the defense and set up what plays you're going to run.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Sometimes it's definitely overwhelming because if I make the wrong decision, it can be catastrophic. But overall, I think it. I don't know. I think it just puts me in a situation and it challenges me, and I think that's a cool thing.
All right. Now, you called yourself a feeder. I would say that's a very true statement. Last year, you led the team, second in the NE10 in assists. You have kind of a knack. We just talked about seeing the defense. You have kind of a knack for seeing where everyone's coming from, finding that open player, who's got the lane open to the net. Do you see that being a big piece of your role again this year?
Yes,
and how can you build off that success from last year?
Yeah, it's definitely a key part of my role, and our offense is based on moving the ball and looking for cutters, and I think that it's important that we just keep all options open, and it's not always just me hitting the cutters, but we're looking for drives. So hopefully moving forward, we continue to have success with me hitting cutters, but also just using the drives to open up the cutters.
Now, you had a chance to play this afternoon in the scrimmage, albeit a little bit late because you had an opportunity to take the LSATs today.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
What did you take away from today's experience?
I think that a lot of the girls who didn't have prior experience coming into the game played really well, which I think is a super positive thing because that may have been one of the things we were worried about this year. So using that, I think it's going to be important that now we can nitpick things that we have to work on, and I think that everyone can get their jitters out of the way so we can keep moving forward.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll bring in Courtney for a couple minutes. Great job. All right, so now we have a chance to sit down with our other senior this year, and Courtney Duffy, and you have a different perspective from both of the two players we've seen so far, in that you're on the defensive end of the ball. Talk about the importance of defense. As Mackenzie said, defense wins championships.
Yeah, definitely. Defense is really a big part of lacrosse in general. Like, anyone can score a goal in 5 seconds right off the draw. So it's really, our focus has really been in on team defense this year. A lot of new faces. We're all working towards getting the concepts down, and I think we're doing great at it. But yeah, defense is always back there.
Well, like I said to Mackenzie, defense sets up the offense to be able to score. You're coming off a great season. You were named all-conference last season. So coming into this senior year, it's your last chance to make an impact on the program. What do you look for that impact to be?
Yeah, so I think I want my impact to be this year. Like, since my freshman year, I've always played with people older than me to look up, and like they guided me along the way. So now I feel I'm in that position where I can hopefully guide the underclassmen, especially the defenders. Like I said, team defense, so it's not just one of us. So giving them any suggestions, or if they have questions, asking, and then trying to give them the right answers to get us all to work together and be successful. So I'm really hoping I can get them everyone on the right path for the future going forward, even when I'm not here.
Building for the future.
Yeah.
You have played on this team for 3 years now, and you've played under the same pressures that you'll have the opportunity to play this year, in that you come into the season as an opponent on everyone's schedule that is a ranked opponent, and someone that's kind of one of those games on everybody's schedule that they put a little asterisk by, and this is a game that we need to get. So how do you take that pressure and build on that going into each game?
I think we just take each game one at a time. Coaches are very good at preparing us. We try not to get caught up in another team, what they're thinking of us, and like what they expect us to do. We just play our own game. Every game we go in like it's the best opponent, and we really just try not to get caught up in getting nervous or like they just want to beat us, but we just try our best every game.
Take each game as its own.
Yeah.
And just briefly, is there a game on the schedule that you put an asterisk next to every year?
Not necessarily, not me personally. Like I said, I think every game is important for us. No game's more or less important, especially this year with the new regions for NCAAs. So I think every game is just as important as the next.
All right, well, great job. Thank you very much. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
We'll bring Coach in for a couple minutes. Before we talk about the season coming up in terms of some of the opponents, Courtney just mentioned something that's very important to think about moving forward, and I know you've had some chances to talk to your peers about it. The new regional format this year when it comes to the NCAA tournament. Explain that a little bit and how that'll play an impact.
Sure. So they've changed the regional alignment. So in the past few, well, actually just this one past year, they selected 6 teams from what was considered the North region. We were lucky enough to be included in that 6 teams. But going forward, at least for this year, the regional alignment has changed, and they've reduced the number of bids from each region so that they could have more regions, if that makes sense. So our region has been reduced to just us and the ECC, and in that region now we only get 3 bids. So if you think about who went last year to the NCAA tournament, all 6 teams from the North region were actually from this new region that we have. So they were from the ECC or they were from the Northeast 10. So if you look at it from a narrow perspective and the perspective of just, our institution, it can be a little bit frustrating because it feels like we went from 6 chances to 3. So what we've, some of the leaders as far as our coaches within the division have really been encouraging people to look at it from a broader perspective and understand the growth of our sport and understand the growth of, and just the Division II, model and how it's all set up. So, it'll be challenging for us this year for sure, because you can think of, 3 teams right off the bat with, who those 3 teams are. So it's going to be really competitive and really challenging for us to make the NCAA tournament. But like I said before, it's really about going out and preparing for each game, competing, playing to win, and hopefully the chips fall where they should.
All right, well, let's take it off the field for just 1 second. We recently had an announcement in regards to fall honor roll, and you had a student athlete on that roll. Courtney, actually, we just talked to, who had a perfect 4.0, so congratulations to her for that. But also, how do you balance the academic and athletic side?
Yeah, I think, that's a key part of what every student athlete does, whether it's at the University of New Haven or elsewhere. I mean, being able to handle that, and make sure that you're achieving in the classroom and that you're, still being able to come out and be well rested and, come out and compete at practice every day. I think that's just what, they're learning to do. So the younger kids, some of them struggle a little bit more than others. Some of them come in and they're really well prepared. Maybe they come from a really strong academic background and the academic part is easy for them. Maybe they struggle on the physical side. So we try to work closely with them and just have those conversations, be open with them about, the help that's available, whether it's, on the academic side or, physically if they're struggling, to have that conversation and be open with us so that we can make sure that they're getting what they need to be able to achieve in both arenas.
All right, well, you still have a few weeks to prepare for this season, but let's talk briefly about the early going. You open up with a rivalry game of sorts, returning to Bridgeport for the first time in quite some time. And you'll actually see a familiar face on the sideline there with one of your seniors from last year, Nicole Bellinger. But then you have a big test right after that as well down in Florida. So talk about those first early weeks and how that all comes together.
Yeah, so, outside of the NE10, we only have a few games that we pick up in our non-conference schedule. So being able to fill the non-conference with games that we are confident will be competitive, games that we think will help us in terms of our regional ranking, all that sort of stuff. So the scheduling piece is really important. And the timing of it, depends on, what's open. So for us, to be able to get Bridgeport back on the schedule, obviously it's a quick ride. It's, and we haven't played them, at least in my tenure. I don't think we have. Actually, I'm not positive. I have a terrible memory. But it'll be a good competitive game and a good way for us to get started. Following that, we go down to Florida and we get right into it. So we're playing Assumption and then we play LIU Post, both, an NE10 game and then, a really big non-conference game. So, we're not taking anybody lightly. We know that and we've got a couple scrimmages left to help get us ready for those early games. So we're hoping we're feeling really prepared at that point.
We'll come into the season ranked 3rd in the preseason poll for the NE10. Obviously, the big tests with Lemoyne and Delphi always looming over you. But overall, how's the NE10 look this year?
I think the NE10 is the NE10, and it's always strong. And the teams that are in the middle of the pack always have the potential to knock off somebody that's where we are. We're kind of, at the bottom of the top. So, like you were mentioning to Courtney, I think, we are one of those teams that people feel like, hey, you know what, if we can beat them, then we're that much closer to breaking in. And for us, we're trying to be with the top teams, so it does put some pressure on us to win every single other game, which, is not easy. There's no slip up. So, but I think where we are is fair in terms of, where we should be, I guess, at this point.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time. We'll look forward to seeing everyone at the opener at Bridgeport. It's right down the road from here, but right down the road from campus, so it'll be hopefully a great sea of blue to overtake the purple.
Let's hope so, and thank you, Dan, for coming out and for helping us, kick this off. We appreciate your help.
Thanks.